guess we could do that.
All right. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us again. You're listening to Aspiring to Be Woke podcast. You can find us on our YouTube channel. Also on Instagram at Aspiring to Be Woke or at ATBW. Feel free to email us as well at atbwoke@gmail.com for any question that you might have or any topics that you might want us to talk about. Today, the main topic that I feel that we're going to be talking about is something that has affected us all in different ways, but equally to a certain extent. And that's the pandemic that we're going through. So I thought it would be just something to talk about, to discuss, kind of talk about how our own personal experiences have affected us. And then we're also going to bring on a caller later. So with that being said, let's get started.
Yeah, well, we kind of understand that we are in a small room together. There's 3 of us and maybe a little closer than 6 feet. But just to kind of give you guys some context, we have been doing I would say, our part in doing the best we can. And all 3 of us have been kind of quarantining together since the beginning of this whole thing. We have pretty much been staying in contact, trying to not see other people, just us. So that's why we're here together.
Yeah, it's tough because, you still go to the store. We still are working to a certain extent. You two especially. I'm not necessarily right now, but we've been doing the best. I think personally, I feel like I could have been doing maybe a little bit better, but it's something that I'm definitely taking seriously, especially with my my pops who's living with me right now. He's technically at risk. So I think it's important that we do state kind of the irony of that, but also that, we are taking this very seriously. And like Michael said, we have been self-isolating with each other for the most part.
It's hard not to take this seriously.
At this point, yeah. I mean, at this point, if you're not with it, you're never going to be with it.
Yeah. I think that's kind of the thing that gets me the most with this whole pandemic, honestly, is the people that don't think that it is like as big as a deal as it is, though.
It's crazy. And I think that kind of goes into what we've talked about in the past is the distrust in not only the media, but also just the disconnect with higher education and also the crisis in confidence. I think that's one of the biggest things, man. Just not believing the narrative that's being told. And I think there's a good reason for that, and I'll mention that, but it sucks to see so many people not take this seriously, and I think we're going to see the effects of that eventually, definitely. What's one situation, or can any of you all think of any situation where maybe you heard something or you were with someone or just in general, something that like affected you and you're like, oh shit, this is real, or this is getting real, this is going to be real, or this is going to be something that's going to affect you for a while now? Is there any particular time or anything like
just
that?
in general, like with the whole pandemic?
Yeah, just in general, or I mean, yeah.
So like the first time, like when we found out about this whole thing and when bars started shutting down and I, lost my job for a little bit, I still didn't think, like I took it very seriously myself personally, but it didn't hit me really until I found out someone I knew, or not someone I knew who knew someone else had it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like it's closer than I think. Yeah. It's really wild. And that's when I really kind of took a turn and was like, all right, I need to be more proactive in protecting my parents, protecting a lot more people than just myself.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think that was just like the one situation where shit kind of just turned for me, I guess.
Yeah. For real. Aaron?
For me, early on, when like it really kind of hit me in the face, it was just the weirdest situation ever. I remember I was trying to leave work, and one of my coworkers said, "Keep in mind, this person's very uneducated." This person was like, "Yeah, you guys really believe that? It's fake, just like the plague was, just like all all these other diseases that we've gone through in history." And
Black Plague was fake. Yeah.
and I sat there and I debated on, do I say something here? No, I'm just gonna leave.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna leave. And then they're talking to me and my other coworker, and my other coworker says, "No, actually, yesterday my aunt passed away from coronavirus." And that was when I'm sitting there trying not to laugh at this one person who's going, "Oh, it's the fakest thing I've ever." And then you're directly hit in the face with just, "Yo, this is
Damn.
That's about as real as it gets."
Yeah.
And it was,
So she said that to that person.
before
Yeah.
knowing that her aunt had passed away or something
Shit.
like that. And I was just thinking to myself, first of all, you were already an idiot.
Yeah.
And now you're an even bigger idiot.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and go home now.
Yeah. What did they do? Like, what was the reaction?
It was that dead silence that you can't even
Recreate.
You can't even break it.
Yeah.
It's like,
Just
even if
the
you made
most
a noise, it would
awkward.
still be
Yeah.
silent in there. It was I
That's
said,
crazy.
"You guys have a good one.
Dang.
I'm gonna go home now."
Oh my God.
So for me, it was, I just kept hearing stuff on the news and like, oh, it's so far away, but it kept creeping closer, and like, oh, it hit Italy and, oh, it's just getting closer. And you're like, no, I still feel it's not our problem yet. It won't be our problem. And I think I trusted the higher powers who are in charge and like, oh, we'll be fine. We'll take care of it. There's smart people in this world. And it kind of hit me. I was like, wait, I think about like, I'm 24. I'm like, well, technically, like we're part of like the who are maybe not necessarily fixing the problem, but who are part of that conversation. Like, oh shit, this could get real. And the part where it was the freakiest thing, man, we were practicing out on the field, and there was just rumors rumbling, at the lunch counter at school, and everyone's like, oh, well, we don't know what's going to happen. And there's people who are the alarmists who are saying this is going to be the worst thing you've ever seen in your entire life. And like, oh, this is nothing, like we're fine. We're going to be fine. And the one time where I was like, oh shit, was we went out to the baseball field and we were practicing, and I felt a bad vibe in general. I just felt a bad vibe. And I brought all the kids around and I said, hey, look, because the head coach said something as well, kind of told the whole coaching staff, like, hey, like, we don't know anything. Told the kids, we don't know anything. We're just going to play as is. Like, we'll be fine. Which is, I think, the right thing to say. But I brought the outfielders together and I said, hey, look, guys, I don't know what the future is going to hold. I said, I genuinely don't know. But I want you to take this practice and understand that not everyone, especially the seniors, will be able to experience this again. I said, I know it's practice. I know it's the dog days right now. We're just trying to get through this, get to the season. But practice like this is the last time you can step on this field ever. And I said that, and I don't know why I said it. I just felt like it was something that had to be said. And hitting some fungos. And I swear to God, dude, 30 minutes into practice, we're doing our drills, and the head coach calls me over and calls everyone in. And I see the VP walking off the field. It's like, oh, what's going on? And they said, shut it down. Like, shut down. No more practice. No more sports. And that immediately was like, oh, shit. Like, this is real. Like, I immediately called my dad. Like, so what's up? Like, what's going on? And it was just the most surreal experience. I don't think it's something I'll tell my kids one day. You know what I mean? Like, I'll never be able to. I never in my life expected to be going through this. Ever.
When they were all walking off the field, did you say, I hope you fucking practiced your ass off for those 30 minutes?
I hope you enjoyed it. Exactly. And I feel so
told you
bad,
guys.
man. I feel so bad because those seniors, it was the last time they ever played high school baseball.
Yeah.
Last time they stepped on that field.
And they had to take fungos from you for the last time? Jesus,
Dude,
poor
yeah.
kids.
I know.
Yeah, I would have retired before that.
Coach Khan's hitting balls. God
Hey,
damn. This is
my
last
fungo
time.
game's on point. It took me a while. I'm not going to lie to you. I was poop. I was garbage at first, but no, it's just one of those like very surreal experiences.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I know. I mean, no one could ever. Well, scientists predicted that we would have a pandemic for sure, but as
Bill
like
Gates did.
Yeah, exactly. But as like a person in society, I would have never imagined that my life would be like a movie.
Mhm.
You know, like shit was shut down, couldn't go to work. I have to wear a mask every day. And yeah, no, there was no way that I could have thought that this would ever happen.
Yeah, when was the last time you were afraid to breathe?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
bro.
afraid to cough in public.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I do the whole thing, like sneeze into my elbow or cough into my elbow because I'm a responsible human being. But
Well,
still,
even
like,
if you cough,
you like look around a little bit. You're like,
is everybody looking at me?
Yeah,
Do they
what
think I have it?
Exactly.
Do I have it? Am I gonna die?
So to me, it went in waves because at first I was like really cautious. I'm like, oh, like I gotta make sure, like we really got to take this serious. And then, did you feel like as things were starting to open up again after that first like lockdown? It was a soft lockdown. It wasn't a lockdown, but a soft lockdown. I feel like when things started opening up, my guard was down. I was like,
Yeah.
we're fine. We're good. We're gonna be good. And then things just kept going.
yeah, that was
south.
That's why I was so worried about it.
Yeah.
So worried about opening up.
Yeah.
When every knowledgeable, educated person who knew about this pandemic was like, nah, you can't do that. Then
All the all the experts but that's a tough decision, man. Like shut down the world's largest economy.
yeah,
That's an argument that's been said. Like I don't know. Hindsight's 2020. Like you want to say like Monday day quarterbacking or whatever that saying is, but
dude.
you want to say these things that we should have or would have done, but I don't know, man.
The fact of the matter is, we just didn't know.
Yeah.
Nobody knew for sure.
Which is nuts. How
I think it, honestly, like in my opinion, it's as black as white in saying, do we save people or do we want to continue to make money? And do we want our economy to continue to
Right.
thrive?
But then
and that is an easy decision in my mind.
it is. It's a very easy decision.
But I am not I'm not in the power of like my world doesn't revolve around the economy.
But think about what that is, though, what you're saying to do, because you're going against the very core belief of America, and that is
Right.
to make money, strive for the American dream, and that's it. You know what I mean? So I it's a catch-22, man.
And some people can hear that, and I mean, and any logical person would agree with that statement, but it just because the number of jobs and the amount of different things that people are doing, I mean, if you don't have a state job and you're not going to be insured, or you're not going to get your unemployment or whatever, if you own your own business and then somebody says, hey, we're going to lock it down, I mean, odds are if your business was small, you're not getting it back.
yeah.
Right. I mean, we've seen, I think, Awful Andy's out in Auburn shut down forever. I think they're completely shut down. Yeah, I don't know how certain businesses, and I think that right there is the failure of our leadership.
In all honesty, though, I think that California did a fantastic job at creating opportunities for small businesses to apply for loans and
You're
apply
right.
for
You're right.
a lot of financial aid that they could have, taken in.
Absolutely.
You at least hope they had a chance, yeah.
Yeah.
I think, and I wish, again, hindsight's 2020, but what I think could have been done is where if you look at it as instead of we're going to close everything down and you're going to close all work and we're going to see the highest spike in unemployment in United States history. Think about that for a second.
Yeah.
Literally ever. So instead of that, because I think eventually we got to the point where we got to shut shit down. We have to. And it's going to suck, but if we shut everything down and instead of people going on unemployment, why doesn't the government spend this trillions of dollars and put it towards the actual payments towards the employees? So instead of having going on unemployment, people are still a part of their jobs, but it's a bailout for those jobs. It's for those businesses.
Yeah,
we've done it before. We've bailed out big banks. We've bailed out car manufacturers. Like, why couldn't we have done that? We easily could have done it.
Straight answer, because most politicians don't even believe that this is a real thing. We have the president of the United States who thinks it's a hoax.
I mean, that's a good point. But you know what I mean? Like, how many people lost access to healthcare as a result of this pandemic? You're in one of the worst,
hundreds of thousands,
worst global catastrophes in terms of the health of individuals. You have record-breaking unemployment, and that means people who don't have health insurance.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what's being lost in that conversation or dialogue. Yeah. How has the shutdown affected your businesses in particular? I mean, because you guys both, I think, have really unique experiences because you see the inner workings, how this quote unquote new normal has affected your daily life. Like, you know, you can take us as far back as the beginning, like your conversation when you were first hearing about it, and then things that have gone into effect as a result.
Yeah, so I guess I'll preface that by saying, for anybody who doesn't know, I pretty much manage a mom and pop yoga shop in Antelope. If this ever gets big, please don't come find me. / also, I will probably be gone because Lord knows I don't want to be there.
Yotart's the best yogurt ever.
Anyways, when shit started hitting the news, we didn't have much in place because it wasn't a for sure thing. Nobody told us to do anything for sure. As the weeks went by and my boss kind of figured, if we want any shot in hell at staying open, we're going to have to try and register ourselves as a to-go operation, which for a self-serve yogurt shop doesn't exactly happen. So we just glassed off every source of edible anything that we had, and now
just defeats the entire purpose of the business.
It's no longer self-serve. You tell us what you want. I make it. I ring you up. I don't even touch anything unless you hand me money.
Yeah.
And then after that, I have to wash my hands before I ring up the next person. I do know that our numbers sales-wise have been cut dramatically. I think we maybe make on a good day half of what we would normally make. And then on top of that, because factories are shut down, whatever we're purchasing is more expensive. But my boss doesn't want to raise the price because we're going to lose more people.
Right. Yeah. I mean, to put this into perspective, this is a business that's been in Antelope for a while now. It's been
probably the longest running mom and pop shop in
I would
Antelope.
say absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I would give it that title easily without a doubt.
Yeah.
So it's something that the community, I feel like, genuinely gets around. Like, you have your yogurt heads who are all about it. I see those comments on the Facebook page. But yeah, I think that's admirable of your boss to do that, because I think that's something that certain politicians might not even think about. And if they are, they're looking at the big picture and thinking, okay, like, how's this going to affect? I don't know. Like,
it's more so the smaller businesses kind of, in the beginning at least, got a little overlooked, in my opinion.
Right.
It was like right away, it was already bail out big businesses, bail out,
That's how it always is.
Yeah, I know. And that makes sense from the larger scale of we're capitalistic.
But I think it's unfortunate because the dialogue, which is bullshit, but the dialogue is always, small businesses built this country.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just
until
nonsense.
They get bought out.
It's not exactly until they get bought out, and then people say, "Oh, I'm just striving to be like a Jeff Bezos or like a Tesla."
Yeah.
But what about you at the winery?
So it was pretty funky. So the whole thing kind of went down, and we were still working. We were still open like a normal operation, and we got yelled at a couple times because like a couple people came in and were like, "You need hand sanitizer on the counters, and you guys need to do this and that." And we're like, "Oh, Like we had no idea. We were just like, okay, let's put some hand sanitizer on the counter. That's going to solve it. And then it was a random Sunday. We were super slow. And I came in and it was just like, I had that feeling like you had the feeling on the field. Yeah. Like it was just like, this is not a normal day.
Something's not.
This is a weird.
Not right.
It's eerie.
Yeah, it's something weird's going on. And I was helping one of my regulars, and he got an email, or he got a notification, like CNN or something, or no, because it was local news, because they were like, Gavin Newsom orders to shut down all bars and stuff. And yeah, in context, I work at a winery in Clarksburg, media and marketing manager, and I also work in the tasting room. So that was just weird. He got that notification. My boss, the owner of the winery, called my manager and was like, hey, this just happened. And we were just like sitting there, like still giving people wine. Like, what am I supposed to do right now?
Yeah.
Do I leave? Do we leave? Do we clean up?
Yeah.
No, we finished the day out.
Yeah.
So we had no idea. We finished the day out, and then I was there the next day, and not a single soul came in. It was just extremely empty. And we did basically pickups and to go whatever that for
Whatever you could.
2.5 months.
Yeah.
And yeah, our sales dropped drastically. We make good money at the winery, and our sales dropped to the point where the owner was very worried. And he's a pretty stubborn dude. He's very prideful and didn't really want the help.
Right.
And we were very fortunate that he ended up taking the help. So that's pretty much what saved us and why we're still able to be open right now. But when they called us back to reopen, it was the weirdest thing, because I didn't want to go back, as I knew they were just going to shut us down again, or they're going to do some weird stuff where, as of right now, like all outdoors. That's so weird to me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like what? So we have a side patio, and we're going to push all these people to the side patio, or the back patio would just need to just shut down.
Yeah.
It doesn't make too much sense to me.
I don't mean to interrupt, but we are at 23 minutes and 30 seconds.
For sure.
For anybody wondering, we are trying to figure out the most efficient way to record video while doing this whole thing. But on a regular camera, you can only record like 24 minutes, 26 minutes. And I'm looking at Michael right now, and I'm willing to bet that it probably... Oh, he's giving me the thumbs up. It looks like it's going all right. So in post, I'm going to fade this into the next shot. Michael's going to start it now. And yeah, the world's most seamless transition is currently happening.
Fantastic job.
If you are watching this video, don't watch it right now.
Mike's going to get back.
Close your eyes.
To make sure that he doesn't hit the camera to get it out.
I'm going to unmute Michael's microphone when he sits down. And we're back.
Fantastic.
Thank you for the play-by-play. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
Well done, gentlemen.
Yeah, that was great.
That was way better than Joe Buck ever did.
Hey, I love Joe Buck.
Shut up.
Only for baseball, though.
Different conversation for a different day.
Yeah.
You what? You only like Joe Buck for baseball?
Yeah. Do you know why, though?
No, I don't want to hear it.
Because
I don't care. I don't care about your opinion on it.
Do you know how many zeros is in a
Conversations?
when we talk about baseball, or when we talk about sports, we'll bring that up.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
So you had the feeling that you're like, we shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
I mean,
I still have the feeling. So from a winery, that's our business.
yeah,
We talk to you. We
conversate,
face to face,
learning about the wine.
and we tell you about our wine, and you taste it in front of me. And I tell you the notes, what you should be getting, what do you get out of it, and then I sell you. I sell you on a bottle. I sell you on a membership. I sell you on many things, and I sit there and talk to you.
Which is a lot of fun. Maybe you want to shout out your winery, because it
absolutely.
is a lot of fun.
Rendezvous Winery out in Clarksburg at the old sugar mill.
It's a beautiful location, beautiful spot.
I've been there. I hated it. It sucked.
Yeah. No, man, it's a super comfortable place. But that's what I love about that job.
Yeah.
Right.
is conversating with people and talking. So having that 2.5 months of being unemployed, sitting in my room or sitting, I mean, you guys are cool, but god damn, I need like more connection, you know?
Yeah.
And it was just so weird going from seeing, I'd see over 150 people at least a day to just y'all. And it was just weird. It was eerie.
How often were you talking to Mac? All the time?
Well, yeah, I've also found out, I talk to my dog and I talk to myself a lot more now. You guys probably noticed that. I feel like I did before already, but
I've noticed it more now.
It's pretty bad. No, it's like
in the kitchen, and then I'll hear it's like, "What's up?" He's all,
no, don't even worry about it. Yeah, that's super worse when I'm by myself in the house.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you want to call our guest, have him on?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we should try that.
Let's do it. So let me explain who we're going to have on while Aaron at least dials the number. We're going to have on Carson Moss, who's a good friend of ours. We've known since high school. Become great friends with him. He's pretty amazing. He got his undergrad. He'll explain this a little bit more as he introduces himself, but he got his undergraduate at UC Davis. He's now at med school in Harvard. And so we thought it would be an awesome opportunity for him to get on here and to kind of talk about his experience as well and his perspective on this whole situation, you know, with things that he's learning, also with him being at Harvard and then school getting canceled or then put online, and then how that's affecting him. And he's actually, I'm sure he'll talk about this a little bit as well, but he's quarantining himself for 14 days because that is what is recommended by the state of Massachusetts. So we're going to have him on here in just a second.
All right, let's give him a ring.
He's a great guy, by the way. I can't wait.
Refer to him as Dr. Moss.
God, I hope he doesn't answer.
Hey, bud.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
All right.
Not too bad.
Can you hear us all right?
Yeah, I can hear you all.
Awesome.
Sick.
Well, welcome. First off, congratulations on being our first guest. I think that's pretty awesome.
Well,
Wait, was Greg not the first guest?
No.
not officially, no.
Yeah, we cut him.
Wow.
Yeah, so
This is an honor,
we'll give you a plaque and we'll mail it out there to Boston.
Yes. I want to let you know that I am wearing my Yankees hat right now.
I am wearing my Red Sox hat right now.
That it, babe?
I love you so much. Well, awesome. So I kind of did a brief introduction on you, but do you want to give the wonderful people a little bit of background, just kind of on your education, what you've done, but with your undergrad, and also what you're doing right now?
Yeah. My name is Carson Moss. I am originally from Sacramento, California. I graduated from UC Davis in 2017. I got a degree in neurobiology, physiology, and behavior. I did 2 gap years where I worked as a research coordinator in pulmonary critical care and sleep medicine. So I did research trials for about 2 years, and now I'm just now entering my second year at Harvard Medical School. I am by no means an expert. I still have a lot of medical training ahead of me. So I'm going to any quotes that I do are going to be, from real experts. And then of course, whatever I say today, these are just kind of like my own views, my personal experience, just over the course of my life. And this no way, represents my schooling and is in no way medical advice. It should not be taken at all.
That is. I think that's very important, and we'll put that. That's really important. We'll put that as a disclaimer as well.
Disclaimer.
Yeah, we'll put it. It's funny. I listen to a
Please
podcast.
don't take.
Self-diagnosis.
Yeah, I listen to a podcast with a doctor, and they have to say that at the end of every podcast.
Yeah,
this is
absolutely.
not medical advice.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate you saying that because that is very important.
Yeah, this guy wearing a Red Sox hat told me to.
Exactly.
That's not what I need in my life.
It's awesome. Well, right on. So what we've kind of been talking about so far is just what seems like from our perspective, kind of the failure to act quick enough, and part of that is due to the lack of information and lack of understanding of this virus and how it's progressed and developed, but also our inability to act quickly, especially on the federal level. But we've also kind of talked about our own personal experiences and how kind of this pandemic has affected us. I know you being at Harvard, I feel like you kind of had because you were on the East Coast, you were almost like explaining to us in our group message what's to come. And I would base things off of you because you would be having it, or it would be happening with you all faster. And some with my parents as well, who are on the East Coast. But yeah, do you want to talk about that at all? At least kind of, when did it register to you like, oh shit, like this is getting real, or, this is going to be something that's going to affect me for the near future?
Yeah, no, I feel like it really came on quick. It was like towards the end of February. I mean, like, you kind of heard a little bit about this virus. That was, there were a couple of cases here and there, like kind of like in January. It was pretty early, but it was just kind of like, that's kind of weird. And then you started hearing about it more and more. And I think it was like towards the end of February or so when, I think it first settled in Seattle was like where the first confirmed cases and stuff were. Then you start hearing it kind of pop up more and more. And then I think it was like early March or so. It was, we're getting some confirmed cases around Boston, Massachusetts area. And, we were still doing, so like part of our curriculum for first year, we were actually in the hospitals every Wednesday or so. And, all this stuff was kind of happening, and we're like, should we still, be doing this? Like at what point does this kind of become a concern for, ourselves and the patients and everything?
Right.
And I mean, it happened really quick. It went from, like really no cases or anything to, hey, we're kind of moving to online classes. And then, so that was like Wednesday. They told us that it was like the 11th or so of March. They said, yeah, we're going to move to online classes. We're probably not going to be going to the hospital anymore. And then it was like the next morning we had this call with like all our deans of the medical school, and they pretty much announced that, hey, we actually have to leave the dorms just because we were too packed up there. So I mean, it really became this thing where like you were hearing nothing about it to like daily updates.
Yeah, this is happening quick.
Like one day it was like, hey, we're going about business normal. The next day we're like, hey, we're kind of moving online, and then the next day was literally, we have to move out by this weekend. We have like 3 days to move out. Like I literally packed my bag and left in about 4 or 5 hours or so.
No, go ahead.
No, yeah. So I was just gonna say they made that announcement. I bought tickets for the same day. I had packed up all my stuff, and they let us leave our stuff in our room. It's kind of like a storage.
Right.
And I flew home the same day. And then I came back to the West Coast. I feel like there was like this latency between like the East and West Coast. I kind of came back, and it was not kind of like this panic when I landed in California.
Right. Yeah.
It took like a couple of weeks or so before they started making announcements like, hey, we're kind of shutting down the state for a little bit. I mean, I feel like I was kind of like fleeing in a sense,
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's why it felt so real, at least to us, because of what you were going through. You know what I mean? We were kind of basically getting a play-by-play. But yeah, it had been almost like terrifying to a certain extent. It's such a whirlwind circumstance.
It was so quick too when you were updating us with everything that was going on, and then we got that text that night, and you're like, okay, guys, we'll see you in 6 hours or 8 hours.
It was that's so Raven.
all my coworkers who were like, oh, this is nothing. Like, look, they just canceled school in person at Harvard. And buddy's, in med school right now. It's like, I'm no expert, but I would take this a little seriously.
That was kind of the crazy thing for us, because like that happened, that we started getting notifications on Wednesday or so that we're, going online. But I think it was like earlier that week, like on the weekend, the undergrad announced that they're basically shutting down and having people move out of the dorm over the next week. And then since we're a graduate school, so in case you didn't know, like the undergrad for Harvard is located in Cambridge, which is the north side of the Charles River, and the med school itself is located in Longwood, which is considered part of Boston, which is south of the Charles River. So we have about like a 30-40 minute kind of commute between the two areas. So we're a little like disconnected from the main campus. So like they made that announcement, and then our administration said, "Oh no, that doesn't apply to you." So we're just kind of sitting there like waiting for more updates. It was definitely one of those things like we were just kind of keeping an ear out, listening to admin and just kind of seeing like what the updates were. It was just this surreal thing that we just kind of took day by day. We're like, "Hey, is it okay today?"
Right.
Yeah, just like a refreshing your email kind of a situation.
No, it was literally that.
Yeah.
It was like we were getting emails pretty late at night. Like we would get emails from admin at like 9 or 10, which is usually when you don't want emails from admin. It's usually
Right.
it's a little too late to be getting updates.
Hey, you up?
Yeah. What are you doing?
I got to the point. It was definitely later, but I got to the point where I would wake up and refresh my email, thinking,
yeah.
okay, did we cancel?
Yeah.
Okay, we didn't cancel yet.
Yeah. Were you getting updates from professors or like any information from doctors out there?
I mean, for the most part, it was kind of like forecasting on their part.
Yeah.
Like we really hadn't seen that many cases over here. I think we had like maybe a dozen or so before we actually had classes canceled. So I mean, there was nothing like tangible for them to really be basing this off of. This is really like kind of like forecasting, saying, "Oh yeah, this is probably going to get worse."
Yeah.
Because this was around the time where like you're getting updates from Italy, kind of seeing what's happening there, and then we're kind of seeing that here, especially like in New York.
Right.
So I mean, it wasn't like we had cases around here that they're really updating. They were just kind of doing this speculation as to, hey, yeah, it's going to get worse. We should probably leave now. But I mean, in terms of the updates we got, pretty much entirely from like our deans, like the dean of the medical school, telling us, kind of like the day to day how they're taking it and like what the next steps were going to be. But like there was really not that much insider information. It was more of like a kind of everyone was in the dark, and I think that's kind of summarizes like this whole experience so far.
Yeah.
Because I mean, no one really has experience with this specific pathogen, so we're all just kind of like learning along the way.
I think that's also reflective in. You're absolutely right, and I think that's reflective in how, like, the information that we've been given both by the World Health Organization and the CDC as well, and with Dr. Fauci and the Trump administration, how the information being relayed is almost in time where, we want more answers, but there just aren't answers to give because we don't have enough testing. We're learning from the virus as it
we go.
as it progresses, as it goes, right?
Yeah.
Even with the symptoms, I feel like the list of symptoms has ranged so much from the very beginning to even today.
Yeah.
And I just think that's fascinating. And I think we talked about it a little bit earlier, Carson, but where I feel genuinely that we are in a crisis in confidence. And does that make sense to you? Where
Yeah.
the public.
I feel like.
Go ahead.
I just feel like no, that's definitely true. I mean, like a lot of people. I feel like there's that's a problem a lot of people have with this. Especially talking with family and stuff, is that information is kind of coming out so fast, and a lot of it kind of contradicts or overrides what was previously said.
Right.
So then, because we're learning along the way, like what we thought a couple months ago may not be true, and this is especially true with masks. Like the initial guidelines for that was, hey, you don't need to wear a mask.
Yeah.
Right.
And a lot of people are still holding on to that.
Yeah.
But now when you tell people they need masks, they said, but you said this, this like a couple months ago. But that's kind of the problem we're running into now, is that, information is coming so fast, you need to kind of like throw out what was said before.
Right.
And I feel like we're running into that problem a lot, where people are kind of hung up on what the old guidelines were, or they're just getting burnt out by how much information is kind of coming out.
Yeah, people are exhausted. People are so sick of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what's like one of the most scary things for me, because it seems like everyone that is trying to figure out what the hell is going on is learning on the go.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's
like,
what I'm saying. The higher
as soon
powers
as
that be.
yeah.
You're thinking, oh, we'll never have to deal with it.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll be fine.
And that new information that comes out, they're like, oh shit, my bad. Like, this is actually what we need to do. We're like, damn, okay, so what's next then?
Right.
Like, what are you guys gonna find out next that we're like, oh, like we really can't do this or whatever?
But I think it genuinely boils down to a lack in leadership, because the CDC did come out and say you don't need to wear masks unless you are working with someone who has COVID. There's no need to wear a mask. And Fauci came out and was saying that there's an interview that, trust me, is shared around on Facebook. Yeah. I'm sure you've all seen it. But we know that that's nonsense. And we know, and it sucks to say that, or to say this, but that's a lie. That's a lie. And I think they knew that was a lie, because part of the reason is that people didn't want a run on masks. Think about how many people, those two brothers in Tennessee, they hoarded all these Lysol wipes and masks and everything, and they were trying to, they didn't have a stockpile. If someone came out, genuinely, if Trump came out and said, look, we are not prepared for this. We do not expect it, or we weren't expecting this. We're not ready, but here's what we need to do. You need to wear a mask. Do not go out and buy the masks, especially N95, because those are for our medical professionals. Make your own. Small businesses, start creating your own. Have this be a greatest generation experience where we're all collectively coming together because this could, if someone came out and said, this is going to be the biggest thing that will affect your life ever. Like, this is bigger than 9/11. This is bigger than the Vietnam War. This is your generation's World War II. If someone came out and said that, I feel like the populace would still, even today, say, all right, yeah, let's do it. They wouldn't be arguing about, oh, masks are, I don't need to wear a mask because I'm too strong for it. I don't even know what the argument is.
Well, and there'd be a lot less Karens going, are you discriminating against me because I don't have my mask on?
Taking away my civil liberties for wearing a mask. But it's the empathy. I think there's a lack of empathy out there, which is unfortunate.
It hasn't directly affected enough people, so they don't care.
Right.
So it's, God, we're so divided right now, our entire country, that we are even divided over wearing a mask that could save people's lives.
Because it's been politicized. It's been politicized by our one leader.
Yeah. It's nuts, man.
No, yeah, that's something that's kind of like amazed me about this whole thing, is that I'm gonna say, like, it's annoying wearing a mask, especially in the summer.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, like, that's a minor inconvenience.
Yep.
That's such a small thing for such a big return. Like, this is literally like no risk, high reward type of situation, where it's kind of surprising how many people are pushing back against it. I mean, just wearing like a piece of cloth over your mouth, like when you go outside for however long, it just seems like such a small sacrifice to make, especially for the older generation, because I mean, like, people our age, we're not going to be the ones most heavily affected by this, but we're the ones that can make the most change by wearing these masks, by social distancing ourselves.
Yeah.
By quarantining when the guidelines say to. But there's still a lot of this pushback, which is still like pretty surprising to me. I feel like a lot of people are really holding on to this kind of independence that I just don't completely understand.
Yeah, it's a freedom, man. Like, they feel like their freedom is being stripped from them because they're being forced to do something. At least that's, I don't want to say that is, but like, that's my opinion on it.
There's a Supreme Court case. I was trying to pull it up. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but there's a Supreme Court case that said that you don't have to, but in the case of civil liberties versus the health of the public or the public good, can your civil liberties be tampered with or affected? And they can. They can, absolutely, especially for the public good, which is something that I think people aren't realizing. And it's not a matter of, losing civil liberties. It's just the empathy aspect of it, which I don't know. I've never understood that argument.
Yeah.
It's interesting to go down the civil liberties route with that, because I honestly I've seen around here a bit. I've been doing the self quarantine because Massachusetts has like a 14-day. If you come from out of state, they want you to do like a 14-day self quarantine. It's not mandatory because you'll run into the governor here didn't want to make it mandatory because there's certain implications constitutionally with
right.
Punishing people for not staying in their house, restricting travel between states. There's constitutional basis for that. That it would just be like a nightmare to enforce. So it's a optional situation here. But the times that I have been out and I have seen like some of the businesses, like a lot of the stores outside will have like no mask, no service, and that was something that like it's pretty ubiquitous here. Like every store that I've seen, every store that I've passed by has had a sign like that.
So is that different than California? What you've noticed?
I feel like it's a lot more well followed here. The times that I've been outside, it's pretty rare to see someone without a mask. I would say like 1 out of 20 people will not be wearing a mask around here. It's like a strong majority of people will wear masks.
That's impressive. I never thought I'd ever say this, but maybe I need to move to Boston, man.
Yeah, it's nice out here. The summers are really nice. But kind of the point I was making with this is, you see these signs out front where it says, no mask, you can't come in. And I feel it's a little more like a no shoes, no shirt, no service kind of thing. Like you're not really being discriminated against, right?
Right.
But these businesses kind of have an incentive, an obligation, to themselves and to their customers to be able to say, hey, this is a risk to us. The same way that you can deny someone service for, not wearing shoes or a shirt. That's not really like questioned that much. That's not saying like, oh, you're infringing on my civil liberties because I want to buy a Gatorade while not wearing a shirt. That's kind of a silly argument to make.
Right.
And I kind of view that the same way as wearing a mask. It's not like you're being discriminated against by, your characteristics, not by your race, by your gender or anything. It's a piece of cloth of your mouth.
Which is like,
been it's just
tested.
Like this huge difference. It's like this. It's more of a type of clothing that I see that's more consistent with like enforcing a dress code inside of a business, right?
Yeah. No.
Where it's not like your character is not wearing a mask. Like that's not a part of who you are. That's like a strange argument to make, I think.
So it's such a weird catch-22 almost, because I'm going to give my pops credit for this because he mentioned it. He compares it to seatbelt laws, right? For the longest time, you could wear your seatbelt, and there were a lot of deaths via car accidents. And they said, okay, we're going to make this a federal mandated law where you have to wear seatbelts. And people are pissed.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother still hates wearing her seatbelt. She despises it. She's like, this is so stupid. I lived my entire life not wearing, you know what I mean? And that's just what she's experienced. But it took car manufacturers to put in a sensor where if you don't wear your seatbelt, it beeps at you to where it's so annoying where you're going to put your seatbelt in. But as a result, we've seen a decline in the amount of deaths from car accidents.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it genuinely might take that. It's something that is stupid and should never get to that, but it's just, I don't know. It has never made sense.
It's wild too, because people from other countries like China, Japan, they've been wearing face masks for,
Since,
a very long time.
Right.
And it's just a normal thing that the government isn't enforcing whatsoever, but it's just become so normalized that it is what they do every day.
My dad was telling me today at Target that he was wearing his mask and someone wasn't. And he's like, hey, can you wear a mask, dude? Like, put on a mask.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, I can't breathe in it. And my dad's like, dude, quit being a fucking dick. Wear a mask. He's all, you can't tell me what to do. My dad's like, I'm a type 1 diabetic. I said, I'm going to be affected by this. If he said, it's not a matter of doing the right thing. It's being a kind human being.
Yeah.
And the guy just stormed off and walked away. And even that argument, you can breathe in a mask. They've done studies where you can register the amount of oxygen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like it's uncomfortable as hell. Like coming back to work and wearing it, and it's like hot in my building. So I get it. It is hot. It is uncomfortable. I'm sweating. It seems maybe I know for a fact that I'm not losing oxygen, but it seems like I'm not breathing as good. But hey, man, I'm not gonna protest about it. Like, I'm gonna wear the mask at work because if it saves anyone's life, then it was worth it.
Yeah,
it's that simple, in my opinion.
Well, awesome, man. Any last minute thoughts or words that you would want to say to our audience who might be, maybe on the fence about this whole COVID-19, or even just in general, maybe not taking this as seriously as they should? And again, this isn't necessarily advice from a doctor, but as another individual who has experiences in this field, and I think this is important. You know what I mean? You've worked hard to get to where you are, where legally, obviously, this isn't certain advice that they should take, but more in terms of, hey, this is another rational human being. What would you say?
I kind of view the situation similar to like any kind of ethical dilemma, kind of frameworks here you can approach, ethics in medicine or just ethics in general, where you can kind of compare, the risks, like the risks and benefits of something, right? So let's say you wear a mask, like what are the benefits? Like if coronavirus, is true, if it does help, if it does help, then, you're stopping the spread of a virus that's already killed 130,000 people in this country. More than, half of our wars, more than like 10 9/11s. Actually, I think it's like 30 9/11s.
Yeah.
So you have like this risk. You have the benefit, like if it is true and you wear a mask, that's a good thing, right? Like you've done the right thing. If you wore a mask and it doesn't help, then there was no real downside to it, right?
Right.
But on the flip side, if you choose not to wear a mask and let's say you should have, that masks are very beneficial, which evidence says yes, but you didn't choose to wear it. Now, look at all the damage that could potentially cause, right? If you have a lot of people not wearing masks when, the studies are saying that they should have, that's a large loss right there.
Absolutely.
Compared to like the flip side, if it's just kind of going back to what I said before, it's like such a small risk, right?
Right.
Because if wearing a mask causes you not to breathe, drop your O2, then all of the surgeons I know are in for a bad time.
Exactly.
They're all dead.
like someone should have told the medical field that before.
Yeah.
So it's like, just if you think about like which side is right in this, whether masks help or not, you have to kind of determine, do you want to wear a mask and maybe look like a fool, worst case scenario, or do you want to not wear a mask when you should have and potentially like spread a virus that can cause death to who knows how many people,
Right.
how many people you would spread it to potentially. So it's just very lopsided in that respect, where if you don't do something, there's this high likelihood that something bad will happen, right? Compared to the minor inconvenience of something and like maybe looking like a fool if, it's not true. But then I would say, you're never really going to look like a fool for trying to do what you think is the right thing, you know? If you're doing something for the benefit, what you think is benefiting others, that's not a foolish thing, right?
Right.
You know, it's just, if wearing a mask on my face, you know, for the next year or whatever could help someone, could help the population, like, I'm not going to feel like a fool if that turns out to be false.
Yeah, you're gonna feel like you've done something.
Yeah, I thought I was doing the right thing for the
Yeah.
benefit of everyone around me. Whereas the flip side, you know, not wearing a mask, that seems like a selfish thing to do, right? Where you're kind of thinking about like yourself rather than how it affects others, right?
Yeah.
So wearing a mask, maybe a minor inconvenience, might be silly, but you know, just potential payoff for it.
Yeah.
Is
Risk to reward.
Yeah,
Like
it really seems like a no-brainer, right?
Yeah. Well, awesome, man. Wise words from Mr. Carson Moss. Thank you, man. I tell you what, every time we like talk about stuff like this, I'm looking forward to your future and your career, and I am looking forward to, you know, seeing the things that you do and the waves that you make. So we really appreciate you being on here, and thank you again.
Of course, man. Happy to be here.
Hey, Carson.
Hmm?
Can I try and play a sound effect and see if the people on the phone actually hear it? Just because we're here and we might as well.
You know, I'm down if you are.
All right. Well, I got a Joe Rogan one, so hopefully you hear it.
If you looked at all the zeros on that number, you wouldn't even be able to wrap your head around it. You'd be like, what? What's a billion? How many zeros is that?
At least a million.
How many trillions is in a billion? What?
Did you happen to hear that or no?
Oh yeah, no, I heard that.
That's awesome. I love that so
All right.
much. Good. Now we know.
Yeah, real advice.
Now we know.
Right there. That's good.
It's a really good outro.
Yeah,
exactly. Hey, thanks, man. We appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Of course, man. You boys take care now.
Yes,
you, bro.
keep quarantining.
Yeah, love you. Go Yankees.
Yeah, nope.
Fuck. That's awesome. Love that guy. Some of the numbers that he was mentioning, there are, in the United States alone, 3.03 million confirmed cases. 908 have recovered, and there have been 133,000 deaths.
908,000 have recovered?
908,000, yeah.
Yeah.
Have recovered. And I think that's something important to say, that not to undermine anything that we've been saying, but there's a huge survival rate of this. And
Yeah.
I don't think that this was as bad as experts predicted. Even with that being said, we don't know the repercussions yet.
Yeah.
I mean, even there's studies that are saying even asymptomatic individuals are having lasting effects.
Yeah, we don't know the long term.
Exactly.
And we're not going to know until it's long term.
And say best case scenario. Best case scenario, this is a flu, right? We already have a flu. And the flu isn't a joke. It kills a lot of people a year. So if this is just another one of those, this is going to be something that's going to affect the human race, the human civilization for a long time. And if you think about it, you know, I think that's important to look at that in the big picture.
And the recovery rate too is like, that's kind of a hard statistic to look at as well, because how many of those cases just didn't get, you know,
How many people had it and didn't know?
or who just
asymptomatic.
they went to the hospital or they went to the doctor and they were confirmed, and then they went home and they recovered themselves.
Yeah.
They weren't going to be like, call the doctor up and be like, yeah, man, put me on the chart.
Yeah.
So playing devil's advocate, a stupid argument that I keep hearing is, oh, well, if you have COVID and you're eaten by a shark, it counts as a COVID death. And that's not necessarily true. Have you heard that?
I mean, I've heard a lot of stories in the hospitals, not necessarily the shark one.
Right. But that's an exaggeration of, you know what I mean?
No, I think they literally referenced that on Joe Rogan.
Yeah. I think it's something that I've heard multiple times. It's something that's been shared on my Facebook feed.
Yeah.
Pretty often. And even if those numbers are skewed, you got to think about how many individuals who had it, died, or had it and didn't die, who had no idea what it was, and they thought it was pneumonia or the flu because of these symptoms.
Yeah.
And they just didn't have testing because we didn't have it.
Yeah.
We didn't have the testing. And one of my family members was sick as a dog, like terribly sick for over a month, and we kept our distance, like they quarantined themselves, which was very smart. And it sucked not being able to see them for well over 2-3 months because we just weren't sure. And they got tested, and they didn't have corona test, but they tested for the flu, and the flu symptoms were negative. So we just assumed then they had it, but they couldn't get tested.
Mm.
Even if they didn't have it, we don't know what it was, but it's just those stories that you hear that, just kind of suck.
Yeah, for sure. And hearing stories like hospitals get a certain amount of money if someone dies of coronavirus. So
Right.
if someone dies and they don't necessarily know what they died from, which happens often, they just checked them off as corona.
Right.
And it just kind of breaks my heart hearing stories like that, because it feeds into the fact that this isn't real, and it really just creates more divisiveness in our society. And it sucks that those kind of stories, people think they're being real about it, or they
Right.
think that they're saving other people by speaking those stories, but in actuality it's making things worse.
Yeah.
And it sucks that those are hopping around.
Definitely. And it kind of shows the negative aspects of certain hospitals being for profit.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just the medical field in general today.
Yeah. I don't know, how do we not give people who spent that long to get their degree and that long to become a doctor just to not listen to them?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's nuts, man.
Yeah. We don't trust them for some reason. They're
Yeah.
probably the only people we should trust.
Yeah.
When it comes to this kind of stuff, at least. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
And it kind of relates to what we talked about last episode with the vast amount of media that we're getting.
Yeah.
You can look on YouTube, search something, and be like, yep, boom, see, I was right.
Yeah.
My thoughts were right.
If you go on YouTube, and I guarantee if you go on YouTube and you look up coronavirus fake, there's
Yeah.
going to be,
Oh, hell yeah.
You
there
got
will
it.
be any number of crackheads.
Nah,
on
bro,
there.
it's not. It's debunked. That's the new thing now.
It bugs me so much that these people who are on social media and supposedly do their own research, but have never in their entire life, even with, and I'm not demeaning, but to me, one of the most important things that I learned in college was the ability to research and do genuine research.
Yeah.
And credible sources, understand what credible sources were, and even how to write in a non-biased tone,
Yeah.
even. But these people without that background, I'm not saying everyone gets that in college, but I would say the vast majority would get it. But these people who haven't experienced that do a Google search and share all this nonsense, and they are 100% of certain, and I just don't get where this rhetoric comes from, other than you're just paranoia and distrust in the system itself.
It comes from it's so easy. It's accessible. We have robots in our pockets. So it's, they just have the ability to look something up no matter what.
Dude, have you heard that podcast? I think it was the first Elon Musk interview
Yeah.
with Joe Rogan. And they talked about how we're basically cyborgs. We already are cyborgs. And they're like, what? He's all, think about it. If you have to look something up that you don't know, it takes you, what, a minute? Less than a minute? What do? Take your phone out of your pocket. You are attached to this phone. I am. When I leave my phone somewhere, I'm like, I don't know where it is, right? You are. You're practically a cyborg. But think about instead in 100 years where you're asked a question, you go, oh, instead of pulling out your phone, you just sit there and like, okay, yeah, no, it's this. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, like in the movies and back when they introduced Google Glass, when
Oh, yeah.
the little thing, and you're just like, no,
They
I'm
thought
not.
they were going to be a hit.
I was thinking to myself, damn, if I could get that and just wear them to school.
Yeah.
Sorry guys, but I'm checking out because on test day, I'm going full Spy Kids mode on your ass.
I'm going to record this lecture and just
Yeah.
re-listen to it.
I will see
Not
you
even,
guys
just
never.
Straight up. Yeah. I was going to say in lecture or test day comes and you just got it right in your face.
Yep. I'm
Yeah.
good. Bill Gates was pissed that didn't catch on.
Sorry, he's making a couple bucks off of this, right? Oh no, probably not. He's actually doing a pretty sick job with this whole entire pandemic.
I would say, man, that kind of gets into
Yeah,
people hate him. People hate on
Yeah.
him, man.
like the warehouses he's building.
But
Right
dude,
now?
it's part of like the rhetoric of, oh, he's trying to build this new world order and he just wants to vaccinate
Yeah.
everyone to control us. They're like, there's no evidence there. There's no evidence there. And if you look at the good that he has done, the genuine good that he has done, especially in certain underdeveloped countries when it comes to vaccines, it's amazing. It's
Yeah.
absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
If you got the money, why not put it to good? I don't know,
He
man.
could have bought he could have bought an island. Well,
He probably
Yeah,
has.
probably has like 12 or probably about
He's
1,000
chilling.
islands.
maybe a
yeah.
couple, yeah.
He's chilling.
But no, he's doing like actually, it's really awesome to see, especially with the vaccine. Like when the vaccine actually comes out, and I
Yeah.
hope to God that the rhetoric doesn't continue that vaccines don't do anything.
Mhm.
I do, because I'm worried that one of the main reasons why it's gonna not gonna go away is because people are gonna be afraid to get the vaccine for it,
Right.
and that is just
May the
that's crazy to me.
anti-vaxxers unite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Another problem that we don't need.
yeah. But we have it.
It's
Maybe
becoming mainstream,
Yeah,
dude.
maybe another
Mhm.
podcast topic later
Yeah,
down
yeah.
the road.
It's a whole nother
Shit.
can of worms.
Jesus, man.
But man, we can like tie it back to media too, because people in the media, the people that we're supposed to trust, are telling us like, well, we'll wait till this whole thing's over after November. Like, what? So you guys think that this was made just for the
Just the
the race,
election?
right? The
Well,
election?
When it started, it was, oh, if we make it through this 2 months, then we're good.
Yeah, yeah.
And then no matter what, we reopened.
Yeah.
No matter what. Even if the numbers were worse, we would have reopened.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
bro.
now we did it, and now we're here.
If we
Yeah,
stop
we're gonna-
testing, our numbers won't spike. We'll be good.
Well, that's just
Just
math.
don't test.
That's just math.
Yeah, just don't test.
That
It'll go away if we don't test.
Yeah.
that just makes sense.
Knowledge. Shout out to, what's his name? Tai
Hey, bro.
Lopez.
Rhetoric, dog. It's on point.
That's true.
Yeah. Don't hate the game, or don't hate the player, hate the game.
Yep. Absolutely.
Great writer. Can't wait for the book after the election.
The tell-all.
Yeah.
Guys, I
memoir.
fucked up.
Hey, so how did it feel to be just ran as a joke basically? It was kind of fun on my end.
I had a good time.
On a serious note, though, whoever has like some sort of plan in place as a running for the next election for this kind of thing, I mean, it's going to come down to whoever has the best plan for that, and whoever says anything about Black Lives Matter,
Yeah.
they're going to pull a lot of votes.
Yeah.
Well-
That's where you mentioned the first one.
Mhm.
Where
Yeah.
if Trump came out day one
Yeah,
and was like, I'm appalled by this.
yeah.
Black Lives Matter. I'm kneeling at the next football game that I attend. Like, would have created
Yeah.
a whole
Yeah.
new wave.
Didn't
man.
even have to kneel.
He could have
Like
been
that.
sitting naked in the bathtub and said, "Hey, somebody point their iPhone at me real quick. Yeah, Black Lives Matter."
Yeah.
and then just ended it.
That's it. Like, yeah, just sitting there, BLM.
Yeah.
Hashtag BLM.
Yeah.
That's all he
Just
needed to
his
say. That's
late
it.
night tweets.
Yeah. But nah, the white supremacists that were rioting in Charlotte are the ones that are.
There's good people. On
Yeah,
both
there's good
sides.
people.
Good
Yeah.
people on both sides.
It is what it is. And that's fucking scary.
You were
Yeah.
mentioning, I didn't know you were on. Is it Donald Trump or Donald Trump Jr.? Who's
Oh no, it was
Whose
Donald Trump.
newsletter?
Yeah, it was the Trump campaign's newsletter. I got that shit because I think everyone should have that shit. It is the scariest thing I've ever seen.
I'm gonna subscribe just to see what.
Yo, it is
Nonsense.
straight up pure like Nazi propaganda. It shit's like it's crazy.
Yeah.
They're like calling the other side devil liberals, trying to destroy Donald Trump from the inside. They're doing everything they can to like
Damn, from the
take
inside.
their family down.
Sounds kind of sexual.
Dude, it was it's so crazy.
That's nuts, man.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
And people buy into that.
Is that a good note to end this on?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
man.
think so, because I feel like I'm gonna just start
Just-
getting in a
Yeah, just
whirlwind
We're
of
just gonna
like
start
bullshit.
destroying
rabbit
Trump from
holes.
the inside out.
I think it should though.
Yeah.
It should be done.
Thanks,
All right.
guys. I think this is one of the best ones yet. So
Yeah, just kind of. I want to end on by saying, don't vote Kanye West.
yeah, agreed.
Cool. Mic
yeah,
drop.
retweet. And one more thing, I wanna shout out real quick. Sorry, tangent or side note. I want to shout out Becca Webster right here. Known her since grade school. She made this shirt. It's so dope. Every time I wear it, I get a compliment. It's like, oh my god, that shirt's sick. It's 100% human. So you can follow her on Instagram at rcw.art. Again, Becca Webster. You can also follow her website at www.webster-art.com. Pretty amazing stuff. Dope artist. So just another local person to follow.
Yeah, and I will link it in the description.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a really good time to support local artists. They are struggling a lot during this whole pandemic, so it's a really important time to support your friends on whatever art that they, are trying to go through with. So
Yep, absolutely.
support local.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks, guys.